What's going on, guys? I love that opening song. Had a good lunch, a salad, believe it or not. I don't know what I'm thinking. $18 salad, so there you go. At least I didn't pay for it. Thanks, Ashley. Hope you guys had a nice break. I'm back. I got about an hour here. I'm going to try to do a couple more chapters. Try to get as close to the ending as we can, and then probably finish it off tomorrow. I don't even remember where I got that song from. I was searching for copyright-free music. It took forever for me to find it, and then I was like, "Oh, you know what? That hits all the right notes. I'll put that in." And then there was like a similar tune that I put on for the ending. So, oh, we gotta update our word count. There we go. We're up to 84,000, almost 85,000 words. Oh. No. Okay, did it twice. What am I, dyslexic now? All right, so we got Chase going after this priest and Mrs. Madison, and we have Floyd going to Mrs. Madison, and then they're like this. So Chase is leaving, Floyd's arriving. Excuse me, I need a coffee, but I'm out. I need my afternoon coffee, and I'm out of coffee. It's a nightmare. 20 keeps getting worse. Oh, need my dragon to be opened here. It didn't take long for Chase to figure out exactly who Mrs. Madison's brother was, period. Even though her and her husband had been separated, the woman had kept the family. His name, period. Yet, all it took was a little searching on her phone before Chase found out who found out Mrs. Madison's maiden name, period to paragraph, and then it wasn't difficult to find a Father David. Names, man, names. The man was a priest at a local church, comma, one of the smaller ones in the city. Period to paragraph. Chase still didn't understand what David had to do with all of this, comma, or any of it, comma, or if he was basically just dragged into a plot because of Mrs. Madison, his sister, period. And judging by what she had done with her own daughter, comma, the fact that she'd given her own daughter an experimental drug that she knew could potentially induce suicidal thoughts, comma, it wasn't a stretch to think that Mrs. Madison would bring her brother into the fold, comma. 2, period to paragraph. Chase knew that she should call for backup, comma, in the very least let Floyd know where she was headed, comma, but she was so determined that this slipped her mind, period. And there was something else. Chase knew that she should call for backup, comma, in the very least let Floyd know where she was going, comma, but for some reason she decided against this, period to paragraph, because reaching for a phone and fumbling for the man's number, period. There was something else, comma, 2, semicolon. There was something personal about this case. Then her sister was, that they were still kids, period. And the idea that someone would take advantage of them, comma, someone that they cared for and respected would so overtly put them in harm's way, comma, even if the harm being done to them was ultimately performed by their own hand, comma, incited a rage in Chase that she hadn't felt for some time, period to paragraph. She knew it was dangerous going after Mrs. Madison on her own, period to paragraph, but not because Mrs. Madison had already proven that she was capable of some pretty terrible deeds, period to paragraph. It was because Chase was capable of so much worse, period to paragraph. Chase slowed as she reached the Chase slowed as she reached the church, comma, looking up and down the road out front of it, comma, trying to locate Mrs. Madison's car, period. She didn't see it, comma, but that didn't mean that the woman wasn't here, period. Chase made up her mind then, if she didn't see the woman's car and if Miss Madison wasn't inside the church with her brother, comma, she'd reach out to Floyd then, comma, and let Dunbar know to put it on APB for Mrs. Madison and or the priest, period to paragraph. As this was Manhattan, comma, there was no parking to speak of, comma, so when she didn't see the car, she didn't immediately write it off as Mrs. Madison not being there, period. She circled around back, comma, and noticed a gray BMW, comma, a newer version of her own car, comma, double parked in front of a fire hydrant, period to paragraph, open quote, that's it, comma, that's her car, comma, close quote. Chase whispered to herself, period to paragraph. Chase took her BMW and angled it in front of the front bumper, comma, of Mrs. Madison's ride, period. She would have liked to pin the woman's car in, comma, but given the way it was parked, she would still reverse, period. Chase, if Mrs. Madison managed to somehow get away, comma, and make it back to her car, comma, she could still reverse and then jam the BMW into drive to get out of there, comma. But Chase hoped that this minor obstacle might give her the minute or two, a few extra seconds to catch up to her, period to paragraph. But Chase doubted it would come to that, period to paragraph. She had the upper hand here, comma, not Mrs. Madison, period to paragraph. Chase got out of her car and unclipped the safety on her holster, period. She stopped just short of pulling her gun free, comma, realizing that this might set off alarm bells if anybody was going to watch a woman running into the church with a pistol in her hand, period. A woman who shared little resemblance from what the general public considered to be a person of authority, comma, police officer, or in this case, comma, an FBI agent, period to paragraph. Chase took a deep breath as she reached the back door of the church, comma, leaning off to one side and pressing against it with the palm of her free hand, period. It swung open, comma, noisily, comma, as the old wood creaked in its even rustier and older hinges, period to paragraph, gritting her teeth against the sound, comma, both because it was grating and because it gave her away, comma. Chase decided then that she didn't give a shit if other people were watching, period to paragraph. She wasn't going to take any chances, period to paragraph. She pulled her gun out of her holster and held it tightly in her right hand, comma, aiming it at about 45-degree angle from her hip, period to paragraph, open quote. Miss Madison, question mark, close quote. New paragraph. There was no answer, comma, save the echo from her voice, period to paragraph. Chase wasn't a particularly religious person, comma, not by any stretch, comma, but there was still something mystical about a church, period. The way that light cast through the tall stained glass windows and seemed to filter down to her had an ethereal quality to it, period. Sure, comma, part of it has to do with the dust motes that circled about pretty much every inch of the ancient place, comma, but there was something else to it as well, period to paragraph, open quote. Mrs. Madison, question mark, close quote, she shouted again as she moved from the rear door down a narrow towards the main seating area, period to paragraph. Candles cast an eerie flickery glow on one wall, comma, illuminating the faces of two elderly women who were sitting kneeling, comma, their eyes closed, comma, their hands clasped and fingers interlaced, period to paragraph. They were so still that when the light from the candles mixed with the light from the stained glass windows above, comma, it gave their faces a waxy complexion, period. Chase actually stopped for a moment and cocked her head to one side, comma, utterly convinced that the women were in fact statues, period, paragraph, open quote. Mrs. Madison, question mark, close quote. She shouted, period, new paragraph. Both old ladies opened their eyes, comma, startled, comma, and almost fell back into a seated position, period, new paragraph. They saw her gun and their eyes continued to widen, period, new paragraph, but they didn't say anything, period, new paragraph. They didn't try to run either, comma, clearly expecting that if anything bad was going to happen, that their Lord and Savior would protect them, period, new paragraph. The fat chance of that, comma, Chase said, period, new paragraph. She hurried down the center of the aisle, comma, making her way towards a set of stairs that ran from behind the audience seats and up to a loft. Period. New paragraph. She'd reached the bottom of the stairs and another wooden door, comma, this one much smaller, but perhaps even older than the one from which she'd entered the church. Comma, when she called out once again for Mrs. Madison, period, paragraph, open quote. Mrs. Madison, I know you're in here, exclamation point. I know, M dash, close quote, in paragraph. The door in front of Chase suddenly opened inward, comma, on its own accord, period, paragraph. Chase took a step back, comma, peering into the dimly lit interior, comma, trying to see how it had opened, period. When she'd approached it, it had been fully closed, comma, but now it seemed to have opened on its own to invite her inside, period, paragraph. Chase made a face and craned her neck into the room, period, paragraph, open quote. Mrs. Madison, question mark, close quote, paragraph, open quote. Mrs. Madison is here, comma, but she's not doing well, period. Please, comma, please help her, comma, close quote. A man's voice said, period, paragraph. Chase, comma, spurred by the desperation in his tone, comma, entered the room and wrapped her hand around the back of the door, period, paragraph. There she spied a man in priest robes, comma, a man with dark hair tucked behind his ears, comma, a hawkish nose and wide-set eyes, period, paragraph, open quote. David, question mark, close quote, in paragraph. The man seemed momentarily surprised that he knew her name, comma, but eventually confirmed this with a nod, period, paragraph, open quote. Yes, comma, you need to help my sister, period. There's something, there's something wrong with her, period, close quote. As he said this, comma, David the priest's eyes drifted downward towards the gun in Chase's hand. Period, new paragraph. Open quote. Please, comma, please, no weapons in the house of the Lord. Period, close quote, new paragraph. Chase almost instinctively put it away before she shook her head, period, new paragraph, open quote. I think I'll keep it out, period. Just show me where your sister is, period. Close quote, new paragraph. The man disapproved, comma, but clearly was in no position to argue, period. New paragraph, open quote. Follow me, comma, close quote, he instructed, period. The man was spry, comma, and light-footed, period. He made his way into the room and then through another door and up a spiraling wooden staircase to the top, period, new paragraph. With every step, the air seemed to get thicker, comma, the dust more difficult to move through, period. The walls themselves seemed to be coated in a thick layer of it, comma, as if this part of the church hadn't been used in some time, period, new paragraph, open quote. What is she doing up here, question mark, close quote, Chase said, comma, and then coughed once, comma, sending a flurry of dust motes swirling about her head, period. She waved it away from her eyes and hurried after Father David, period, new paragraph, open quote. She came, comma. She's disturbed, comma. I don't understand what she's doing, period. I think she might hurt herself, period, close quote, into paragraph. Chase swallowed hard then, comma, partly because of the thick dust that coated the inside of her throat, and partly because of the implications of what the man was saying, period, into paragraph. Even though Chase had only met the woman on one occasion, comma, and that occasion had been marred by her extreme grief, comma, Chase had a pretty good idea of what type of person Mrs. Madison was, period. She dealt with types like her before, after all, period, new paragraph. People who would sacrifice their children, comma, their family, comma, their significant others just to get to a place where they wanted to be, period, new paragraph. If Madison was struggling, comma, this would look poorly upon the Madison family name, period. Just like, comma, Chase was certain that Mrs. Madison had only left her husband after the fall of Verdant Pharmaceuticals, period, paragraph. It wouldn't matter that the reason why it collapsed is because her husband had illegally used cerebrum to save their son's life, period, paragraph. What would matter is that people knew they were strapped for cash, comma, that Mr. Madison had gone from a high-powered executive to someone who wore the same soiled t-shirt day in and day out, period, paragraph. That's what mattered to Mrs. Madison, period, paragraph. But the idea of her taking cerebrum and the monoclonal antibody cocktail and while taking cerebrum and the monoclonal antibody herself was a stretch, comma, Chase could see that if the walls were closing in on this woman, comma, rather than face the public shame of what was likely to come after her name was plastered all over the 24-hour news cycle, comma, it was possible, period, paragraph, like what Leroy had said about the combination of drugs doing permanent damage to the brain, comma. It might not have been plausible, comma, but it was possible, period, paragraph, and possible was enough for Chase, period, paragraph, open quote, please hurry, comma, she's up here, period, close quote, new paragraph. Chase. Father David had stopped in front of a door, comma, that was firmly closed, period. He looked scared, comma, his wide-set eyes seeming to drift even farther apart as the dust that they passed through grew thicker still, period, paragraph. He was standing off to one side, comma, clearly afraid to enter, period, paragraph. Chase gave him a curt nod, comma, and with the gun still at the ready, comma, pushed through the door, period, paragraph. And that's when she saw Mrs. Madison, period, paragraph. The woman was standing on a chair, comma, a plastic chair, comma, the kind you might have found in a high school, comma, one that was wholly out of place in this place of a church that seemed entirely made out of glass and wood, period. New paragraph. There was a thick, corded piece of rope hanging from the rafters, comma, the other one tied in what looked like a makeshift noose, period of paragraph. When Chase stepped into the room, comma, the woman stopped trying to fit it over her head and glared at Chase, period of paragraph. Her eyes were wild, comma, the pupils darting back and forth so quickly that it almost made Chase nauseous, period. Her lips, too, seemed distorted, comma, too red, comma, too big, like some sort of Chase blinked, comma, trying to clear his vision, period of paragraph, open quote. Get down from there, comma, close quote, she instructed, period. She started to raise the gun and then realized that didn't really make much sense and lowered it again, period, open quote. Mrs. Madison, comma, get down from there, period, close quote, into paragraph. The woman just stared at Chase, comma, unblinking, comma, somehow unaffected by the dust in the air, period, to paragraph, open quote. It's real, comma, close quote, the woman said in a disturbing, comma, airy tone, period, open quote. It's real, period. Everything that David said was real, period, close quote, paragraph. Chase took 2 more steps forward, comma, trying to understand what was happening, period, to paragraph, open quote. Miss Madison, comma, let go of the rope, period, close quote, into paragraph. The woman started to laugh then, comma, a high-pitched cackle that was almost witch-like in nature, period, to paragraph. Chase took 2 more steps forward, comma, having the distance between them now, period. With 2 more steps, she could reach out and grab the woman, comma, even if she managed to slip the noose over her head in time, comma. Chase could hold her legs, lifting her up in the air as David went for help, period, to paragraph. David, ... New paragraph. Chase started to turn then, comma, trying to locate the priest in the dusty air, comma, when Mrs. Madison spoke again, period, to paragraph, open quote. I see it, comma, close quote. She hissed, period, open quote. I see it and it's real, period, close quote, into paragraph. Chase turned back, comma, and instantly regretted her decision, period. There was a flurry of movement out of the shadows, comma, and before Chase could lift her arm, comma, she felt something hard strike the back of her head, period. She stumbled forward, comma, landing on all fours, period. Her eyes drifted upwards, comma, looking at Mrs. Madison, who had still that wide expression on her face as she slipped the noose over her head, period, to paragraph, open quote. No, comma, close quote. Chase croaked, comma, feeling her vision vignetting, period. She reached up with one hand as if this desperate reach could somehow prevent a grown woman from committing the ultimate act, period, open quote. No, period, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. Yes, comma, close quote, Miss Madison said, nodding rapidly, period, open quote. Yes, comma, I see it, period, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. What, M dash, what do you see, comma, close quote, Chase said, period, new paragraph, open quote. Mrs. Madison said something then, comma, something that Chase didn't quite hear nor understand, period. And then she kicked the chair out from under her, comma, and there was this horrible gurgling sound as she plummeted a few feet before the rope caught around her neck, period, new paragraph, open quote. No! Exclamation point. What did you see? Exclamation point. What did you see? Exclamation point. Close quote. New paragraph. And then she realized that there was someone close to her, comma, someone within inches of her ear, and she could feel his hot breath as he spoke. Period. New paragraph. Open quote. Don't worry, comma, close quote, Father David said. Period. Chase felt something sharp poke into the inside of her elbow, comma, unmistakable feeling of a needle inserting itself into her skin, period, open quote. Don't worry, comma, Because soon, comma, you'll see it too, period, close quote. All right. Okay. All right, cool. It was bugging out there for a minute. I don't know what happened. All right, so we finished that chapter. A long one, but lots of action. We're kind of figuring out what's going on now. We're getting to the big reveal. We know that David is somehow involved. We know that he's behind at least some of this. It's gonna come out. And to be honest, this is kind of the original idea that I had for this story. Has to do with this David character, and I'm struggling a little bit with the how much information I need to reveal throughout. I think I might go back and put little hints in, but for the most part, towards the end, when Floyd and Chase are speaking again, if Chase survives, if she survives, nobody knows, then I'm going to have them talk a little bit about what David's motivation was and how he comes into it. All right. So now we're back to Floyd, and Floyd is basically running behind here. And that's kind of by design too. I want, Floyd is a new agent. He doesn't have the experience. He went about his own way. He got to the same conclusion that Chase did, that Mrs. Madison is the one who's really at fault here, and he's going to get there, but he's behind Chase because, Chase is Chase. This is a Chase Adams thriller. Not a Floyd Montgomery mystery. This is a Floyd Montgomery mystery. Let me just switch this up. Thank you for the likes, Trevor and Vanessa. I don't know if I thanked you guys before. Oh, man. Okay, so we got time for a couple more chapters. I'm thinking about how Chase, not Chase, I want Floyd to, in a clever way. Okay. We already know there are 2 other Chase books on pre-order. Who am I kidding here? Chase is not going to die, all right? Chase is going to win. Spoiler, Chase is going to win. I'm just trying to figure out how, and in fact, I think it's going to be a Floyd win, not a Chase win. So I'm trying to figure out a clever way that Floyd can manage to overtake David and or Mrs. Madison. I don't know yet. I'm thinking maybe he could be pious. Like Floyd could be some sort of religious guy and he's going to be appealing to David's piety, I guess. That's something I might have to contemplate now. I do know that one of my favorite scenes is coming up. It'll bring things like this was another idea that I had for Chase and how it's going to bring everything kind of full circle with that everything I've been talking about today when it comes to her voodoo or whatnot. So I'm super excited about that. Yeah. Okay. We're going to have Floyd. This chapter is going to be A short one. It's just going to be Floyd going to the church. That's what I'm battling with here. How do I do it so that it's not just a boring chapter of Floyd talking to the kid again, which is going to happen, and then going to the church? Like, what is going to happen in the interim there? I don't know. I'm just going to write it, and then maybe I'll condense it and combine it with another chapter later. And then chapter 68 is going to be one of my favorites. I know that. Or maybe it'll be... Maybe it'll be 69. Maybe 68 will be more of the lead up. I'm not sure. Floyd tried again and again to... Floyd tried repeatedly to reach Chase, comma, but either she had shut off her phone, comma, or she'd gone rogue, period to paragraph. Open quote, where the hell are you, comma, Chase, question mark? I need you, period. I need you now, period, close quote in paragraph. Floyd was sitting in his car outside of Mrs. Madison's home, comma, staring up at the large pillars that held the roof, period. Supported the overhang above the front door, period. New paragraph. He had been feeling good, comma, strong, comma, when he'd left Detective Dunbar back at 30... the precinct, comma, but now, comma, being alone here, comma, outside the home of one of the dead kid's parents, comma, that courage was waning, period to paragraph. Floyd tried Chase again, comma, but once more it just went directly to the answering machine, period to paragraph. Chase swore and tossed the phone on the passenger seat, period to paragraph. Call Dunbar, comma. Call Screech, comma, call Leroy, period. Call somebody, period. Don't do it yourself, comma. A small voice in the back of his head spoke up, period. You can't do it yourself, comma, Floyd, period to paragraph. But Floyd had a strange feeling in his gut, comma, an uncomfortable tightness that seemed to be spreading with every passing moment, period to paragraph. It wasn't like this was unusual for Chase, comma. He knew firsthand from Stitz that Chase often went off on her own when she had one of those voodoo moments, period. New paragraph. But that was the old Chase, comma. This was the new Chase, period to paragraph. And the new Chase didn't strike Floyd as someone who wanted to be alone, period to paragraph. His eyes once again drifted to the door, comma, and then he scanned the street, comma, hoping that perhaps Chase's car was outside, period to paragraph. But if it was, comma, he didn't see it, period to paragraph. Don't do it, comma, Floyd, period. Just call Dunbar, comma, tell him to send some cops as backup, period to paragraph. But that would take too long, period to paragraph. Chase. Floyd. Bit his lower lip so hard that he tasted blood, comma. Then he got out of his car, comma, closed the door, and walked up to Mrs. Madison's home, period, new paragraph. He was nearly hyperventilating now, comma, and he tried to slow his breathing by forcing himself to inhale through his nostrils, period, new paragraph. He managed this 2 times in a row, comma, before he thought he'd pass out from lack of oxygen. Instead, gulped it hungrily with his mouth, period, new paragraph. Don't, period, do, period, it, period, new paragraph. But Floyd was doing it, period. Before he knew exactly what was happening, he reached up with his hand and knocked loudly on the door, period, new paragraph, open quote. FBI, comma. He said, period. He knew that he should probably announce his name as well, comma, but feared that even that might be difficult to get out without a stutter, period, new paragraph. There was a sound of someone approaching the door, comma, and Floyd took a step backward, period. His entire body seemed to be breaking out in a cold sweat, comma. As if he were suddenly struck with an acute fever. Period. He cursed himself for stuttering again. Period, new paragraph. You can't do this. Period, new paragraph. Open quote. You're back? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph. This threw Floyd for a loop, period, new paragraph, open quote. This is the FBI, period. Is Mrs. Madison home? Question mark. Is your mother there? Comma, Peter? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. No, period. Like I told the other FBI lady, comma, she's with Father David, period, close quote, new paragraph. Other FBI lady, question mark, new paragraph, open quote. Chase? Question mark. Chase was here? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. Some lady who said she was in the FBI, period. I don't remember her name, period, new paragraph. Open quote. How long ago was she here? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. I don't know, period, not long, period, close quote, new paragraph. Encouraged by the fact that him and Chase seemed to have come to the same conclusion that Mrs. Madison was in as much, if not more, involved in her daughter's death than Mr. Madison, comma. Floyd felt his confidence returning, period, new paragraph, open quote. And where's your mother? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. With Father David, period, close quote, new paragraph. Father David? Question mark, new paragraph. Floyd squeezed his eyes tightly closed, comma, trying to clear his jumbled thoughts, period, new paragraph, open quote. Where did they go? Question mark. Do you know where they went, comma, Petey? Question mark. Open quote. Mom said that they were going to go to Father David's church, period. Close quote to paragraph, open quote. Thank you, comma, thank you, M dash, close quote. Floyd said as he started to back away, period, open quote. Just stay inside and keep the door locked, period. I'm going to send a police officer to your house, period. Peter, comma, just stay inside and don't open the door for anyone, period, close quote, in paragraph. Without waiting for a reply, comma, Chase, Floyd hurried back to his car. He knew from the files that Mrs. Madison had a brother who was a priest, comma, and assumed that that had to be the David that Peter was referring to, period. It took only a few moments find out where his church was located, and then Floyd was off again, period of paragraph. Around back of the church, he spied Chase's car, comma, parked awkwardly as if trying to cut off another vehicle that was parked by the curb, period of paragraph. Mrs. Madison's car, comma, he thought, comma, even though he had no basis for this other than the position of Chase's vehicle, period. Without thinking, comma, Floyd backed up and blocked off her car, comma. Floyd replicated the position of Chase's vehicle behind the gray BMW, comma, effectively blocking her in, period of paragraph. Adrenaline was rushing now, comma, and fueled by the courage he'd had of actually going to the door and finding out where the hell Chase and Miss Madison were, comma, he started to exit the vehicle, period. Before he did, comma, however, comma, he checked to see that his gun was on the holster, period of paragraph. It was indeed there, as it always was, comma, but when he looked back to the church, comma, he made a decision, semicolon. He couldn't bring a gun into a church, period. He was raised a good Catholic boy, comma, and in doing so he knew he would offend those. And he knew that bringing a weapon into a church would offend was offensive, period, paragraph. After all, comma, you didn't need to protect yourself in the house of the Lord, period. That's what he was for, period, paragraph. Floyd removed the holster from his belt, comma, and then slipped it into the glove box and made sure it was locked, period, paragraph. Then he slammed the door closed, comma, and ran towards the church, comma. The sweat that had begun as beads on his forehead and upper lip, comma, becoming rivulets that ran all the way down his spine, period. All right. Oh, someone will try to change the color. Ashley, you tried to change the color. I don't know. Some days it works. I think I got to exit and then reopen it. This program. Yella. You wanted yella? Let's try. Let's see what works here. All right, cool. I think it works now. Let's give it a shot. Yellow. There we go. All right. What is it? 354. Just writing chapter titles here. Chapter numbers, so it doesn't slow me down when I get into the groove here. All right, so we're moving towards this chapter that I've been looking forward to for a while. Chase is kind of, what do you call it? I mean, full circle chapter, let's call it. Just taking a little bit of a break because I think things are going to get a little nutty. It's going to be like a dream-like sequence, let's say. Oh, I got an idea. All right. Yeah, so I'm gonna do a small kind of interlude where Chase is speaking to David. She recovers from the blow that he gave her, and he's, uh, you know, just trying to convince her of something, let's say, and then feed her a pill. Meanwhile, I think I'm gonna mirror a little bit what happened with Mrs. Madison and Chase to Floyd and Chase. That might work well. I think that would work well. Okay, let's work a little bit more. Let's do a little bit more. Um, Chase moaned and opened her eyes. Period. The back of her head was throbbing, comma, and when she tried to open her mouth, comma, she felt something sticky back there. Period to paragraph. Blood, comma. Someone had struck her with something hard, comma, rendered her unconscious. Period to paragraph. Chase looked around, comma, trying to get a better idea of her surroundings. Period. She remembered coming to the church, comma. Then she remembered M dash new paragraph a creaking sound. A creaking sound. Drew her attention to the left and upward. Period. Chase cried out when she saw Mrs. Madison's blank stare. Period to paragraph. The woman had done it. Semicolon. Like her daughter, comma, her mother had committed suicide. Period. And even though it wasn't as dramatic as jumping in front of a subway car, comma, it was equally as horrifying and frightening. Period to paragraph. There was also the smell of shit and piss in the air. Period. The woman's pale brown slacks were stained around the crotch and halfway to one knee. Period to paragraph. The smell was so strong that Chase felt her stomach start to revolt and felt bile rise in her throat. Period to paragraph. Open quote. Ah, comma, I see that you're awake. Comma, close quote. A soothing male voice said. Period to paragraph. Chase immediately whipped her head in the opposite direction, comma, and immediately regretted it. Period to paragraph. Sharp pain shot down her spine, comma. Pain so bad that she was forced to squeeze her eyes tightly closed to try to rid herself of the sensation. Period. Soon, comma, it reduced to a dull throb, comma, but it was still there. Period to paragraph. Open quote. What do you want? Question mark. What do you want with me? Question mark. Close quote. Chase said, comma. Keeping her eyes closed. Period to paragraph. Open quote. I want you to see. Let me ask you a question, comma. Close quote. The man said. Period to paragraph. Chase opened her eyes then, comma, blinking rapidly to clear her vision and to get a better look at David. Period to paragraph. He was standing behind a small desk, comma, upon which she saw a large cauldron-like object, period. Inside that, comma, she spied a mound of small white pills, period. New paragraph, open quote. Do you believe in God? Question mark. In the afterlife? Question mark, close quote. New paragraph, open quote. I believe that as soon as I break out of these, David asked as he picked up one of these small pills, period. Wrist bindings, comma. One of us is going to find out, comma, close quote, Chase said, period. She was indeed in a chair, comma, the same plastic chair that Mrs. Madison had used to assist her suicide, comma, but the man had tied her wrists and ankles tightly around David had tied her ankles around the metal legs, comma, and her hands were strapped behind her, period. New paragraph. The man didn't break, open quote. I don't think you believe in God, comma, close quote, David said, comma, not paying any attention to her previous words, period, open quote. I think that's what we've lost these days, period. A belief in a creator, comma, in our Lord and Savior, period. Close quote. In paragraph, he was holding the pill up to the light now, comma. It was a small circular disc, only a few millimeters in diameter, period. In paragraph, innocuous, period. In paragraph, but powerful, period. In paragraph, open quote. You're the one who stole the cerebrum, comma, close quote. Chase remarked, period. In paragraph. The man chuckled, period. In paragraph, open quote. I call it the God pill, comma. And so will you. Period, close quote, into paragraph. Chase turned her head to one side as he hurried towards her, period, into paragraph. But he grabbed her chin and roughly yanked her head straight, period, into paragraph. Open quote. You don't believe in God, comma. I know that, period. You don't believe in God, comma. And neither did Mrs. Madison, period. Neither did Mr. Horace or poor Madison and her friends, period. None of them believed in God, period. Until they ate this pill, period. Until they saw, period, close quote, in paragraph. The man was trying desperately now to jam the pill between her pursed lips, comma, but Chase was doing everything she could to keep her mouth closed, period, in paragraph, open quote. You will see God, comma, close quote, the man hissed, period, close quote, in paragraph. He managed to pry one dirty finger inside the corner of her mouth and pushed the pill into it, comma, but Chase instinctively bit down, period, in paragraph. David hissed and yanked his hand back, comma, and the pill fell to the floor, period, in paragraph. Open quote. You will see God. Period, close quote, in paragraph. David retreated back to the cauldron of what must have been 1,000 or more pills, comma, and Chase furiously tried to break free of her bindings, period, in paragraph, open quote. You can't. Why are you doing this? Question mark. Close quote. Chase said mostly to stall, period, to paragraph, open quote. I'm doing this because humanity has lost faith, period. I'm doing this because every single person who takes this pill will see God and realizes that he is real, period. That there is an afterlife, period. Close quote to paragraph. And that's what they saw, comma, Chase realized, period. They saw. Everything suddenly became clear now, period. The girls had taken this pill and they saw what they thought was God, comma, maybe even spoke to him, comma, and then they came to strongly believe that there was an afterlife, period of paragraph. Chase tried to put herself in Madison's shoes, comma, tried to understand why a girl who was so popular and had everything going for her would want to commit suicide, period of paragraph. She'd posed the question to Floyd, comma, what would make you so depressed, comma, what would you see that made you feel so down that you would instantly want to commit suicide, period of paragraph. The man had offered her several opinions, comma, several reasonable ideas of what might make someone do that, period of paragraph. But this whole time, comma, they'd had it all wrong, period of paragraph. It wasn't something they saw that made them angry or sad, period of paragraph. It was something they saw that gave them hope, period of paragraph. Hope of something better, period of paragraph. At least, comma, in their drug-addled brains, that's what it must have felt like, period of paragraph. And that's why they committed suicide, period of paragraph. This drug was far more dangerous than Chase had ever imagined, period of paragraph. Open quote. Ah, comma, I know. You understand, comma, now, period. You understand that I am going to give this drug to all of the churches in New York City, period. And when they get communion, all non-believers will believe, period. And then it will spread, period. People all over the city will start talking about an afterlife, comma, and they will believe in God again, period. And when they do, comma, he will rise up, period, close quote, into paragraph, open quote. You're insane, period. You're getting these people to kill themselves, period. They're not seeing God, comma. They're not believing in an afterlife, comma. You're just messing with their brains, period. They're hallucinating, period, close quote, to paragraph. David laughed then, comma, confirming Chase's worst suspicion, semicolon. The man himself had gone insane, comma. The man himself must have taken the pill dozens of times, comma, perhaps because the initial time was when Mrs. Madison he couldn't commit suicide, comma, of course, comma, because that went against everything he believed in as a Catholic, period of paragraph. But it was easy for the others to commit suicide because they didn't believe, comma. They didn't have those strong, ingrained beliefs before taking the pill, period of paragraph. It was Chase wasn't sure how the man would have first come across this drug, comma. Perhaps he was involved in praying for Peter, comma, and it came out that way, period. Or maybe he was depressed because his own church, by the way it appeared, seemed to be failing, comma. And as a result, comma, he went to his sister and said, hey, is there something I can take to make me feel just a little bit better, period of paragraph. Something to make this all go away, period of paragraph. And maybe she would have been the one who had given him the first dose, period of paragraph. Or maybe it was even less innocuous than that, comma. Maybe it was a complete and utter accident that he'd taken it, period of paragraph. But that didn't matter, comma. The fact was he had, comma. And now, like Todd Powers, comma, he'd lost every single grasp of reality, period of paragraph. Open quote. They believe, comma, close quote. The man shouted, comma. This time when David grabbed her head, comma, he didn't grab her chin. This time when David tried to force the pill down her throat, comma, he didn't reach for Chase's chin, period. Instead, comma, he grabbed the back of her head where it was still tacky with her own blood, period of paragraph. Chase tried her best to keep her mouth closed, comma, but this sudden, comma, involuntary gasp caused her lips to part ever so slightly. Period to paragraph. David wasted no time, comma. He forced the pill into her mouth, comma, and while she tried to spit it back up, he clasped a hand over her nose and mouth. Period to paragraph. Open quote. You will see, comma, close quote, David said. Period to paragraph. Chase struggled, comma, trying to wrench her head free, comma, trying to spit the pill onto the ground, but the man's grip was strong, comma, and he kept inching a finger deeper into the wound in the back of her head caused by whatever he had struck her with, period. New paragraph. Chase felt her diaphragm protesting, comma, felt him try her chest. Scream at her to breathe, comma, just breathe, comma, do whatever you have to just so that you can breathe. M dash new paragraph. Chase had no point she had no choice but to swallow the pill, period, paragraph. And no sooner had she swallowed that small DMT derivative, comma, did David start to smile, period, paragraph, of a quote. And you will believe, comma, close quote, he said softly as he pulled his hand away from her mouth, period, paragraph. Chase stopped struggling, comma, tried to induce vomiting with only her mind, comma, but that was impossible, period, paragraph. And then, comma, to her surprise, comma, David did the unexpected, period, paragraph. Instead of making sure she stayed seated in her chair, comma, he slowly started to undo her bindings, period. All right, so that went on. Like, I was going to do a small chapter there leading up to what I want to happen, what you guys can already see happening after Chase is taking the pill. But I decided to do a little bit of David explaining. You know, David's kind of a new character here, and like I said, I'm going to put a little bit more about him throughout the book, little hints here and there. There are some, but I'm going to strengthen those. But I wanted to kind of explain his point of view a little bit. I was thinking about maybe if all the kids went to a Catholic school, and that's kind of, yeah, I might make that. I'm gonna make a note of that. So I think that would add another element to the story if I said, oh, oops, get out of here. It could also be that, it could also be that this guy is the priest, right? I might do that. I might make him like the priest. And you know when I talk about Mr. Hendricks, like speaking to the kids about suicide and all that, maybe he could also be the chaplain at the high school. I think that's a good idea. I'm going to write that down. Okay, and then one final point. I think it would also be kind of cool and come full circle if these previous few scenes don't take place at a church, but at the school itself. So those are ideas I'm toying with, and I know like the book is nearly done, and it's going to be an extra layers of work for me to actually go back and do this. But when you write the way I write, when you write completely in a linear fashion, when you write without that much of a plan, then sometimes when you reach the end of the book, you come up with some ideas you want to implement. It can be a slippery slope where you come up with too many ideas that you should have done beforehand. That's why I think if you're just starting out, it's probably the best approach would be to plan at least a little bit. And a slippery slope in that like you can continue going back and revising and revising. And I've warned against that for various reasons on multiple live streams. So I don't think that's going to be the case here. I'm just going to add these little elements in just to beefing it up, just so that it's not so much like I don't want to feel like I'm cheating the reader, right? Like an example of cheating the reader is if you had like a true mystery novel and you had like these 5 suspects, and it was none of those 5 suspects. It was a 6th suspect who didn't appear in anything, had nothing to do with it. There were no hints, no clues. That's cheating. In a good example of this was The Hateful Eight by Tarantino. I love a lot of the guy's films, but couldn't stand that one. Too slow. And the idea that there was someone hiding in the baseboards and just jumped up, I was like, oh man, that seemed so cheap to do it that way. And I admittedly, I must have missed some of the nuances of the dialogue there because I found it kind of boring. Wasn't really paying attention. But so I don't want to cheat the reader. I think I'm going to add some more things in. I'm going to make David a little bit of a character prior to this moment. This was the second twist I was talking about. So the first twist is that it's Mrs. Madison who gave her own kid the drug. And then the second twist is that it's this guy's master plan to get this drug in all of the kids around, I don't know, every school or whatnot. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, okay, well, maybe it wasn't Mrs. Madison. No. I'm not going to do that slippery slope. It's 417. Let's see our word count for today. Check it out, guys. We're just at about 10,000. I think that is a fantastic day. I'm going to add a few more notes here. Oh, my God. Okay, so just a couple notes there. I'm also going to outline these chapters because I feel like once I get towards the end, there's no opportunity for me to then add that information into a later chapter, if that makes sense. So I'm going to add what I think should happen in these chapters. So the next chapter is most definitely going to be Chase's reverie. We'll go with that. Floyd arrives, is greeted by David, sees Chase. Chase is wacko. I'm gonna leave it at that. I think you guys can get an idea of kind of what's gonna happen, what that means. Floyd saves Chase. Captures David. Chapter 74, we're going to have Dunbar arrests David. Peter is alone. They try to talk to him. He believes in a higher power. Discuss why Peter never tried to commit suicide. Chase is in hospital. Okay, I actually don't think there'll be a chapter 75. I'll leave it like that. And then there's an epilogue. And in the epilogue... Oh my God. Okay, come on. Can't even write anything anymore. Okay. So the epilogue will be... Chase asks Louisa to keep Georgina for a bit longer, and she has the decision. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it for the book. I think that's going to be it. We have a few more chapters to do tomorrow. It's fucking